Alright, we're here with the podcast. Today's topic is D&D, or Dungeons and Dragons. John. Well, I cannot be expected to carry it all the time, John.
I mean, you are in the front seat.
That does not mean I am the only one with the responsibility. Dungeons and Dragons was created in the late...
80s?
No, it wasn't late 80s. I believe it was late 70s, and then really got popular during the 80s. Our dad played it. We still play it.
There's a bunch they're still making
as a family and some other things.
They're still making editions.
Because it's run by Wizards of the Coast. Wizards of the Coast still owns it. Although it is owned by, in extension, it's owned by Hasbro, since Hasbro owns Wizards of the Coast. The most recent edition is 5th edition. Are they coming out with a 6th edition soon?
I don't know.
Presumably they must be, right? Because 5th edition's been around for a while.
I don't know the average period of time between editions.
Well, it differs.
It does?
Right, because it was like, 1st edition was like the 70s, early 80s, and then they made a 2nd edition for the late 80s and into the 90s to make it like updated and fix things. And then in the late 90s, early 2000s, they made a 3rd edition,
which no one
that sucked and everyone hated. So they tried again to make a 4th edition. Sucked. Everyone hated it.
No, they made a 3.
It
didn't work.
5?
They made 3.5, which people liked. Then they made 4th, which I heard was just like a real, like, there were no, like, I've just heard that it was bad. That there was just too many bad things about it.
It just wasn't.
Like, in each edition, there's a couple bad things.
Yeah. And then now they have 5th, which is fine. I mean, based on what I've played of it, it's fine.
Yeah, it's not bad. It definitely makes things, like, some things more simple.
Where is this lady trying to go?
In here, I guess? I don't know why.
I can't go up there. I mean, the main problem I have with D&D right now is that the community seems to think that the players are what control the game. In the game setting, not like, overarching.
Yeah.
Right? Because, like, overall, any game, most games are controlled by the players, right? In terms of, like, buying and continuing to play the game. But in terms of actually in the middle of the game, i.e., you're playing a dungeon with your friends, the players don't control what happens in the world.
No.
The Dungeon Master does. And it's the Dungeon Master's...
There's a bunch of crappy Dungeon Masters now.
Yeah. So, the result is
a bunch of cool things happening for the players, but a bunch of Dungeon Masters that just...
don't know what they're doing.
Not actually fun. It's just fun to hear about.
Yeah.
It's not actually fun to, it's not actually fun to play a dungeon where your Dungeon Master is crappy. It's just fun to hear about that stuff.
Yeah.
And what Wizards has been doing lately is they've been they basically, because of their pushing of, like, D&D related media, like D&D shows and stuff. Is this guy gonna go?
Sorry.
It's on you, Peter.
Yeah, I know. I wasn't able to react quick enough.
Yeah, because I didn't know if that car was gonna go, because they weren't, and then they did.
Well, for some reason, tons of people are turning into here.
Yeah, for no reason.
It's
Anyway.
Friday. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it is Friday. We played 2nd edition mostly. Originally, when we were, like, younger, our dad got us whatever the edition was going on at that point.
No,
It wasn't 2nd edition.
It was 2nd. It's 2nd edition, Player's Handbook, and Dungeon Master's Guide.
But it's
No.
3rd edition, 3.5.
When we lived in Braemar.
Braemar?
Yeah. When we lived in Braemar, we got a Dungeons and Dragons, like, starters kit for Christmas, because Dad wanted to, like...
Yeah, that was 3.5.
I don't think you know what it was.
I'm fairly sure.
You'd have to look at it. anyway, it was whatever edition was good at that point, and Dad didn't like it, so he basically set it up back to second edition.
Yeah, because he has.
Yeah, I think he actually got those books from like somebody else. I'll go ahead.
No, he said he bought them in like New Mexico.
Oh well.
When we were living in New Mexico. So.
Mexico.
Yeah, so he got the second edition Player's Handbook and Dungeon Master's Guide, but he got a 3.5 Monster Manual. So when Dad didn't have time to make dungeons and stuff, but I still wanted to play, and I became the Dungeon Master, it was really hard. It's really hard to create monsters for second edition D&D.
I don't think it's that hard. You just
come up with a
with
monster.
Well,
Make the things reasonable.
yeah, you just set their dice roll. You just set their armor class, the THAT-co, their HP, the damage roll.
I like how they got rid of that.
You can do that based off of 3.5 Monster Manual.
Yeah,
because it has a lot of those features, right? Like they didn't change a lot,
but
they just changed a few things.
Yeah, it's just annoying. It was especially since I was like 12.
Yeah, okay.
And I was trying to do something, and the proper supplements were not there.
Yeah. I think you're just bad.
No, I'm not. You just can't seem to understand that things are actually hard, John.
Because things are never hard.
But anyway, Peter, you got 5th edition stuff for Christmas.
Yeah.
And your birthday.
Yeah.
And you've set that up and started us on a dungeon.
Yeah.
It seems okay so far. There doesn't seem to be anything inherently wrong.
The rewards aren't that good. But...
Well, I think that's Peter's fault, not
what?
5th edition's fault. The XP award.
Oh, the XP award?
No, the gold.
The gold. The XP is.
The gold seems also a little whack.
Yeah, that's just because I haven't played it a lot, and I don't really know. I didn't know how much gold to give you in
the other version.
In the other version, really, but I was giving you.
Well, the problem with the other version is like the way we would do it is we would just.
So I built my campaigns based off of not really even second edition, but Baldur's Gate edition.
Yeah.
So
which is a modified version.
Of second edition.
Which is. Okay.
So you would have all the stuff that second edition would have, but Baldur's Gate didn't have, silver pieces, copper pieces. It only had gold pieces.
It only had gold pieces because there's no.
So I only gave you gold pieces. And all the like stores with the equipment was roughly based off of
Baldur's Gate levels.
Baldur's Gate, like what each thing would cost.
Well, Baldur's Gate is variable though.
In this way, we have we have a bunch of pieces like gold, silver, copper.
Anyway, but the problem with that, the way we were doing the second edition one, which wasn't inherently a problem, it just was a little wacky in terms of gold and experience rewards, is that we didn't actually have a consistent dungeon master and a consistent it wasn't a campaign. It was just one of us made a dungeon, so whoever made the dungeon ran the dungeon while everyone else played their characters, and then someone would play too, playing the dungeon master's character.
Yeah.
So as a result, the gold and the XP, pretty much all the XP was, you don't get XP based on monsters. After this dungeon, everyone just goes up to the next level. No. Or gets a certain amount of XP.
Yeah, that was kind of what it was.
And gold didn't really matter because there was no.
There was nothing to spend gold on.
Spend it on, right?
Yeah, there was no.
There was no you need because in a campaign D&D, the gold is used for two things. One, as you can use it as an incentive, right? You use it as a quest reward, or you say, this guy stole a bunch of your gold. Go back and steal it from him. It's basically an incentive. Get gold if you go on the quest, and then you can buy stuff. in terms of like buying stuff,
like, but
it's up to the dungeon master.
But if you have
right?
a campaign, you have a general town, and if you play the campaign a lot, you can build out the town.
Yeah, you can say, oh, this guy shows up and he has this.
Yeah.
If you want.
Yeah.
So, like, there's more continuity with, oh, right, I know my players have played enough that they have 4,000 gold each, approximately. And so I'm in a position where I can make a 4,000 gold weapon for each of them. And, like,
or
if they want to buy it, they can.
do, like, a... Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah. Just in terms of, like...
I'm gonna let this curtain pull out. So, like, for a second edition game, we didn't really have to worry about it.
Yeah, it was... The second edition game that we were playing was essentially just go to the dungeon, kill some monsters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was actually pretty fun, right?
Yeah.
Well, it was fun. Yeah,
There were no problems with it.
Yeah.
No, I suppose not.
It was pretty great.
Yeah.
That I did learn one thing from running a second edition dungeon, and that is a group of multiple enemies is always harder than a single boss.
Yes, that is true.
It's always harder than a single boss. Yeah.
Unless you make the boss super hard, right?
Yeah.
Because basically the way it works is
If it's one boss,
if it's
easy.
one boss, or you make the boss fast. If it's one boss, it gets one action per round. Where any party that has like 4 people gets 4 actions per round.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how overpowered the one action is. 4 actions are usually
no,
be better
maybe
than
it's a
one.
multi-attack thing where he gets to do one attack with it.
Yeah. That's what you have to do. You have to make him have multiple actions per round.
No, there's no such thing as multiple. Well, there are, but generally you wouldn't give them. Looking at the Looking at the monster manual, if the people who made the 5th edition D&D wanted to make the enemy have multiple attacks or stronger, they would just give it a multi-attack where
ability.
Where it would use that action.
Yeah, one action just hit multiple times.
Yeah.
Right. Well, that's the smart way to do it because giving multiple
actions means it can
do multiple things. It can be more overpowered. It can cast 2 spells.
It can cast 2 spells.
It can
It can attack and then it can like
attack and cast a spell.
Attack and cast a spell.
Well, it's up to the dungeon master.
Attack and disengage.
Spawn minions.
That's a spell.
But what?
Or an action. Or a specific action, yeah.
But right. On its own, like sort of a boss isn't gonna be like a single boss is not gonna be as good as effective as 5 normal enemies, depending on the party size, right?
Yeah.
Like if you have
if you want it to be difficult, you essentially just throw the party back at the party.
Yeah. You throw the party or a little bit more's worth of enemies at the party.
No, you throw the.
It's a party of 5, so you throw 7 goblins. The goblins are on one-on-one worse than the party, but there's 2 extras.
No, what you do is there's 5 party members. You throw in 4 guys that are approximately their level in skill and damage.
Yeah.
And you set them up where it's the same amount of guys. Same or a little bit less amount of guys, but they have a similar, like, they have actual tactics. So,
yeah,
if you throw 7 goblins at the party, some of the you could choose to just be random with it, where you just go,
they're all just goblins.
Where you all just have them rush them. But if you want to make it harder, if you think the players are having too easy of a time, what you do is you send 4 of the goblins to go attack the main guys and have 3 goblins stand back shooting arrows.
it's all about good dungeon setup, really.
Yeah.
It's about like it's about basically being a computer trying to keep your user on the computer, right? Like, you're not trying to make it so hard that they just leave.
Yeah.
And are like, well, our party's dead. Why are we even playing this game? It's kind of boring if the party just dies every time. You can kill the party, though, if you want, right? That can still be interesting and fun, depending on how you do it. But you have to know when it's the right time to do it, right? Because people usually like their characters. They don't hate them. But after a while, if they do get bored with them,
Yeah, it makes sense to allow them to. It makes sense to allow them to die.
Well, you should always allow the. Sorry.
That was a quick slowdown.
Yeah, because I didn't realize these people were stopping.
Because there's a bus.
It's important to remember to always allow the characters to die, because you shouldn't give the indication that you shouldn't. They should still be trying to play the game, right?
Yeah. If you always kill the characters,
it's boring.
It's
and if
boring.
you never kill the characters, it's boring. So you got to make sure that there's, it's a challenge. It's not like you're just going through the thing.
Yeah. So you say there's 4 or 5 guys. Yeah, which is why I recommend the equal number or less than of equal or a little bit less than level and size.
Yeah.
Because if they're equal to the party has to, if the party goes up against itself, it has to outmaneuver me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you have to. Yeah. You have to. The party has to then.
What are we waiting
think about
for?
it. The bus.
Which bus?
There was a bus there. I saw its lights. Because this is a road with no median, we have to stop.
But the main thing you have to remember is that the Dungeon Master is allowed to do whatever they want. There is no...
Yeah.
There's nothing that the Dungeon Master can't do. And the players can't do whatever they want. The Dungeon Master can tell the players, no, you can't do that.
Yeah.
Now, it's probably a better Dungeon Master trait to say, no, you can't do that, than just trying to say, yes, you can do that, I'm going to fit it into my story. Right?
Yeah.
It's a better... You're a better Dungeon Master if you're able to say no to the players than always say yes and fit it in.
If you're... The best Dungeon Masters best Dungeon Masters can say yes and fit it in, and also say no.
Yeah.
To be a good Dungeon Master, you have to be able to say no to your players.
Yeah. Say no, but make it seem like you said yes.
Yeah.
Right? Because you want the players to feel like they can do anything, because that's the goal of the goal of the game. You're supposed to go through the game doing, what you feel you should be doing. So, you don't have to do dungeons if you don't really want to.
Yeah.
But the Dungeon Master should also know, alright, well, so I can't really do anything but dungeons, so if they try to do something else, I'm going to have to figure out a way to not have them.
To either just say, hey, yeah, that's the problem.
Obviously you shouldn't just outright say no.
Yeah.
But if you only have a dungeon set up, you shouldn't tell them, sure, we won't do the dungeon this time, because you have a dungeon set up. You don't have any other plan.
Yeah. That's
and you have the ability to say no. As a dungeon master, always know that you are in the position of power.
The dungeon masters don't know how to easily maneuver their people off of topics that they don't want them to do.
Yeah.
Just say no.
It's okay if you get a little bit sidetracked.
Yeah.
Or it's okay if your players somehow get rid of a hard fight that they're able to get around. That's clever. That's good.
That's okay.
If they're able to sneak in and
right, if you prepare a big entrance battle with 10 guards and all the players successfully sneak around the guards, that's fine.
Yeah.
Right? Unless there's some, like, reason why you think that they should have to fight those guards.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if there is a reason that you think that they should have to fight those guards, just make the stealth check unreasonably hard. So that you know that they will not succeed.
If they do, it'd be funny.
The problem
Or have them roll and just not care. Like, right?
The problem is, there's an attitude, if you get a natural 20, it automatically succeeds.
Well, what succeeds means is, again, up to the Dungeon Master. Which is really the clever part of that, right? Natural fail and natural succeed, 20 and 1, are up to the Dungeon Master. So the Dungeon Master could say, sure, you sneak past the guys, but then another guy who's right in the entrance of the doorway, you accidentally knock into him because you didn't try to sneak past him because you didn't see him. If you really want to.
Yeah, but yeah.
Ooh, whoops.
Michael. And if they fail, you can be like, oh, you get knocked down a level. Instead, like if they're being pushed off a cliff, you can say, instead of falling to your death and dying.
Yeah, if you don't want them to die. Yeah. Right.
Or you do want them to die.
If you do want them to die, then you can kill them, right? You have the ability to kill them at any point. You don't have to have them keep playing. But the point of the game is to play the game. So it would be a little pointless. Anyway, we're not going to be releasing any videos for half of next week because we will not be at our house. It's a bit complicated, but yeah, don't expect any videos on Monday or Tuesday. And no videos Saturday or Sunday either. We might have a video on Wednesday, might not. We'll see. But videos will be back. Podcast will be back Thursday, definitely.